Hi everybody, Sheena here again with another video, and today I'm going to be talking to you all about how to study and study tips. So for me, I have been getting a lot of questions about how to be successful in school as a student and how to study. And for me in graduate school, there was a number of things that I did to learn to study. But what I can say is one of the things that attributed to me being such a good student and getting good grades was that I had a really good study routine. So today I'm going to talk to you all about study and learning styles. There are four types of learning styles. They are the visual learner, the auditory learner, the read-writer learner, and the kinesthetic learner. And before you start to create a routine, you need to know how you get information in your brain and how do you retain it and recall it. And different people, depending on their learning styles, will be able to do things differently and retain information that others will not be able to do as well. So for the visual learner, these are people that are really fast talkers. They might be impatient when it comes to getting information, and they learn best by seeing things. The auditory learner, or the person who learns best on hearing, they tend to be slower speakers and they are more natural listeners because they can hear things and recall it and do better by just listening. The reader-writer is a person who needs to read stuff and write stuff down in order to get things into their brain and be able to recall it. And then the kinesthetic learner is a person who learns by doing. So give them something to do, they will figure out how it works by figuring out how it functions, and that's how they learn and retain information better. So here are some tips for each of the four learning styles. So for visual learners, they learn best by seeing charts and graphs. So in school, they might be able to see something that's on the board and be able to recall it more quickly than a different type of learner. And these are the people who you might have heard the phrase, I am a photographic learner, or I have photographic memory, which means that they can see things and recall it very quickly. An auditory learner, like I said, is a person who learns through hearing, and they learn best by reciting information and that question and answering back and forth. So this person in class might have done well with answering questions that the teacher has asked very quickly, and they do well when they study by reading things over and listening to them over and over and over again. This is a person that could learn by just being in the room, by osmosis, which is amazing. But the next learner is a reader-writer. They learn best by quizzing. If you get information and give it to this person that they can read, and then you ask questions, then they'll be able to recite it back if they can write it down. And then the last is a kinesthetic learner. So this is that hands-on learner. They learn by doing exercises and writing things down. They learn the function of things by putting things together and taking things apart. They are able to recall information better in that way. So as far as study tips and guides, from personal experience, I have found that I retain information, and when I'm preparing for an exam or a certification, I learn best by having a study spot. So that's the number one thing. Having a routine, we go to this study spot. It could be by myself. Usually I study alone. So I would go either to my room and create a study environment with all of my books, all of my research, or go to the library. When I was in school, I learned best by being isolated from my phone, my computer, and going to the same cubicle at the library, or the same table, or the same area. If it was exam time, then everybody was in the library. But having that study spot and routine is very good. I also learn best by repeating things over and over again. So my routine might look like 5 a.m. wake up, review my notes that I'd taken in class. If I'm studying for a licensure exam, I might read a certain section, write the information down, do study cards, and at the end of the day, once work has been done or class has been finished, I review that information again. The step 2 tip for studying is to have a study partner. All throughout my schooling, I had somebody that I could bounce information off of, exchange notes with, quiz each other before an exam. I call them an accountability partner. What that is the person who would make sure that I do not fall behind, and I would also do that for that person. The last tip is note taking. Note taking is very important because it's so much information. Things can happen, and you might not be able to quiz yourself without the proper information. So, taking notes and condensing things from a lot of information down to a smaller group of sections also helped me as well. So, those are my 3 tips on how I studied. For me, as far as like what type of learner I am, I believe that I am a kinesthetic reader and learner. I learn best through doing. So for me, it might look like I attend class, I take down my notes. So I've heard the lecture and I've written down the notes. So I hear it and I seen it. The next step I would do is consolidate all of my notes down to study cards. So I would create a study card. That way I can ask and answer questions to myself when I'm alone. And when I'm with my study partner, I would ask and answer questions with them. And that creation of that study card is me doing. I also do well with post-it notes. So if something is important, I write it down on a post-it note and then put it in my textbook. I also do well with textbooks versus the online books. So if I could have that book in my hand so I can highlight it, I can doodle in the margins, and then write it down, I do better that way versus on the computer. Yeah, you can highlight, but I need to write on it. So those are my tips and tricks on how to study. If you feel like this video was helpful, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, be happy and healthy.